There is a sacred shift taking place in the spirit realm, and whether you can feel it or not, it has already begun. Listen closely, because this message is not for the crowd. It's for the few. It's for the ones who have walked through fire and came out forged, not burnt. It's for the ones the world tried to bury but didn't realize they were planting a seed. You are the chosen one. And right now, God is elevating you above those who once mocked, betrayed, and abandoned you. You were never meant to fit in. That uneasy feeling you've carried your whole life, that sense of being different, misunderstood, or out of place, it wasn't your imagination. It was divine truth whispering to your soul. From the time you were born, heaven placed a seal on you, and with that divine mark came both protection and persecution. Because being chosen is not a comfort, it's a calling. And that calling put you in the crosshairs of both spiritual and earthly enemies. There were people in your life who smiled at you in the daylight but cursed your name in silence. Some of them were friends, lovers, even family. They saw your light before you fully saw it yourself, and instead of celebrating you, they tried to snuff it out. You were underestimated, disrespected, even ridiculed. And in those dark nights of confusion, you asked yourself, why me? Why did they hurt me when all I ever did was love deeply? Why was I always the one being betrayed? Why did it feel like I had to carry so much pain in silence? But here's what they didn't know. While they were busy throwing stones, heaven was taking notes. Every tear you cried in silence was a seed of divine compensation. Every time they turned their back on you, God turned his face toward you. What they called your weakness was actually your sacred assignment. And what they tried to destroy only made you stronger in the spirit. Your isolation wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You weren't rejected because you were unworthy. You were rejected because your spirit threatened their comfort. Your authenticity confronted their illusion. Your strength intimidated their fragility. But God saw it all. And now he's saying, enough. The tables are turning. The pain you endured is becoming the platform he will use to elevate you publicly. Those who laughed at you are about to witness your rise. Yes, you who once cried yourself to sleep are being lifted up by the hand of the Almighty. The very people who whispered about your downfall will have no choice but to witness your divine restoration. They thought you were finished. They thought they broke you, but they had no idea they were messing with someone whose destiny was wrapped in the hands of God. You've been through hell, but you didn't lose your fire. You may have bent, but you didn't break. You may have been pushed down, but you always found a way to stand back up. And now the Spirit is saying, this is the season of reversal. This elevation is not just material, it's spiritual. It's emotional. It's supernatural. God is elevating your peace, your clarity, your discernment. The old wounds, they're healing. The confusion, it's clearing. The betrayal, it's being reversed. The weight you've carried for years is being lifted, and the blessings you thought you missed, they're coming back around, multiplied. You're not just being restored, you're being repaid. You are entering a season where the same mouths that gossiped about you will have to praise the God who favored you. The same people who counted you out will wonder how you made it through. And when they ask, you'll say, it was never me, it was God all along. See, the elevation isn't just for you, it's through you. God is using your life to show what divine justice looks like. He's showing what favor on the forgotten looks like, what glory on the rejected looks like. And even now, some of them can feel it. They're uneasy. They don't know why they're anxious when your name is brought up. It's because they can sense you're rising, they can feel the shift, and it's making their spirits tremble. Because when God says it's your time, no lie, no weapon, no scheme of man or demon can stop it. You've been obedient in the dark. You've prayed when no one saw. You kept your heart pure even when you were surrounded by snakes. That kind of obedience does not go unnoticed by heaven. And now the reward is being released. Not because you were perfect, but because you remained faithful when it would have been easier to turn cold. You chose love when hate was justified. You chose grace when revenge would have felt right. You held your tongue when you could have exposed them. You passed the test, and now the elevation begins. And it's not just for you, it's generational. Your obedience is breaking chains that your family line has carried for decades. Your surrender is unlocking doors for the next generation. Your healing is creating space for miracles. You are the bridge between what was and what will be. You are the first in your bloodline to be fully awake. And it's not by accident, it's by assignment. Don't be surprised when the very people who once distanced themselves from you suddenly try to come back around. Don't be shocked when the ones who laughed now come with praise. That's what elevation does. It exposes what was hidden. But you, chosen one, must remember, your elevation isn't about proving them wrong. It's about proving God right. He said you were blessed. He said you were favored. He said he would make a table before you in the presence of your enemies. And now the table is being set. Your name is being whispered in rooms your feet haven't even stepped into. Divine connections are aligning. Opportunities are forming. Delays are dissolving. Every closed door is about to make sense. Every unanswered prayer is about to be answered with something better. Because when God elevates you, it's not random, it's precise, it's powerful, it's purposeful. You are not who they said you were. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are the anointed one, the healed one, the rising one, the one who was chosen before the foundation of the world to carry a light so radiant, even hell had to take notice. And now that light can no longer be hidden. You didn't just survive, you endured. And in the realm of the Spirit, endurance is a language heaven understands. It speaks louder than words, louder than appearances, louder than anything your enemies tried to declare over your life. Because you weren't just walking through physical trials, you were fighting unseen battles in silence. And every time you showed up with a smile, every time you poured into others while bleeding internally, every time you carried yourself with grace despite feeling shattered inside, it was counted. You have scars that are sacred. You wear invisible armor made of nights you thought you wouldn't make it, but you did. And that, chosen one, is not a small thing. That is evidence of your divine resilience. You've faced betrayal that could have turned your heart to stone. You've endured abandonment that could have broken your spirit. You've stood in rooms where your presence was tolerated, but your essence was resented. You've been surrounded by people who loved the version of you they could control but despised the one that stood in truth. Still, you didn't shrink. Not really. Maybe for a while you tried to dim your light. Maybe you questioned your worth. Maybe you begged God to take the pain away. But deep down, something always pulled you back to your feet. That something was the Spirit of God, alive within you. It's what made you different. It's what made you dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. It's why the attacks came the way they did. You weren't just under pressure, you were under preparation. Every spiritual battle you faced was preparing you for the elevation you're stepping into. Those enemies, they weren't just random people. Many of them were strategically positioned to test your character, to test your discernment, to test your trust in God. And even when it felt like you were walking through the valley of death itself, God was walking beside you. Quiet, yes, but absent, never. You might not have realized it then, but you were being equipped. That depression, it taught you empathy. That betrayal, it taught you wisdom. That loneliness, it created space for divine intimacy. Every loss trained you to cling to the eternal. Every heartbreak refined your focus. Every spiritual warfare moment sharpened your discernment. While they were mocking you, God was molding you. And now, the fire you walked through has turned you into someone unstoppable. There's a power in you now that didn't exist before the pain. A confidence that comes not from ego, but from revelation. You know who you are. More importantly, you know whose you are. And that terrifies the people who once played with your name like it held no weight. Because now, they can't touch you the same way. Spiritually, you've leveled up. And every demon that once taunted you knows it. There is a trembling happening in the enemy's camp, because the one they thought they broke has risen. And not only risen, but risen with power, risen with authority, risen with a voice that carries prophetic weight. The tables are turning. The same ones who tried to curse your name are watching in disbelief as favor surrounds you like a shield. God has made you the evidence, the proof that His word does not return void. They tried to erase you. They tried to silence you. They wanted you to disappear, but instead God is writing your story in bold letters across the sky. You are becoming the living testimony they never saw coming. Do you feel it? That stirring in your spirit, that pull in your chest? That's not anxiety. That's alignment. That's the shift you've been praying for. That's heaven responding to years of unanswered cries. And though you may not see the full picture yet, trust this: everything is changing. Suddenly things that were blocked are opening. Conversations that were delayed are being released. People who ignored you are now realizing they can't escape your influence. And it's not because you chased validation, it's because you chose alignment. You chose obedience when rebellion would have been easier. You chose forgiveness when bitterness seemed justified. You chose to pray for those who plotted against you. And that's why the elevation is coming the way it is. You passed the test not in public, but in private. And now the reward is about to go public. Some of the people who hurt you had no idea they were messing with someone under divine covenant. They thought you were just another person they could use, discard, and forget. But God marked you differently. You carry a legacy in your bloodline that they couldn't see. They saw your kindness as weakness. They mistook your humility for lack of power, but what they couldn't comprehend was that your silence was strategic. You didn't clap back, not because you were weak, but because you were protected. You didn't expose them, not because you lacked receipts, but because God told you to let Him handle it. And He is, right now. Even as you watch this, situations are shifting in your favor. Conversations are being had behind closed doors with your name on them. Your elevation is in motion. And the best part, you won't have to force a single thing. Because when God moves, He doesn't need your hustle. He needs your surrender. So rest, chosen one, not in apathy, but in assurance. Rest in the knowing that you don't have to chase what's already yours. Rest in the fact that you've done the inner work, fought the unseen wars, and kept your heart pure through it all. The reward that's coming is not random, it's righteous, it's divinely timed, and it's going to blow the minds of those who thought they had the final say in your story. Let them watch, let them whisper, let them wonder how you made it out of that pit, because what they don't know is that while they were laughing, you were growing. While they were tearing you down, you were being built in the secret place. While they were moving in manipulation, you were moving in the spirit. And now you're coming out of hiding, not just as a survivor, but as a threat to everything that tried to break you. This is not a comeback. This is your divine unveiling. And when you walk into that new room, carry this truth. You belong, not because of what you've achieved, but because of who God has declared you to be. You are the chosen one, the appointed, the redeemed, the one hell couldn't break, and heaven is backing you every step of the way. There's a moment in every chosen soul's journey where heaven begins to answer in full view of the crowd. You've prayed in private, you've cried in silence. You've carried burdens that would have crushed others, all while holding your head high. And now God is making a public declaration of what He has already spoken over you in secret. The season of hidden strength is shifting into the season of visible justice. God is not just restoring you, He's revealing you. And when God reveals a chosen one, it's never quiet. For too long, you were treated like an afterthought. You were overlooked, dismissed, disrespected. Some even made it their mission to discredit your name, to downplay your gifts, to distort your truth. But God was watching, not with passive eyes, but with the eyes of a righteous judge. He took note of every false word spoken against you, every lie wrapped in charm, every betrayal masked as concern. And now the scale is tipping. Divine justice doesn't always come with thunder and lightning. Sometimes it arrives as a sudden change in direction, a closed door for them, an open gate for you. A shift in influence, a collapse of what they built in deceit, and the rise of what you built in pain, in truth, in surrender. That's what's coming for you now, a reversal that no one will be able to deny. The very things that were used to wound you are being turned into weapons of purpose. The very moments that almost destroyed you, they are becoming your mantle of authority. God is not just blessing you, He is vindicating you. There is a prophetic wind behind your rise. It's not about revenge, it's not about getting even, it's about divine justice being fulfilled on your behalf. It's about God saying, "This is my child, this is who I've chosen, and I will not let their name be dragged through the mud any longer." You've lived long enough in the shadows. You've endured long enough in silence. But elevation always comes after endurance. Restoration follows rupture. And now the rupture is being healed not with temporary patches, but with eternal promises. Some of the very people who cursed your name will be the ones who watch your crown being placed. They'll see the favor on your life and won't be able to explain it. They'll wonder how you're thriving when you should have been destroyed, but they won't understand, because elevation from God doesn't follow logic. It follows purpose, and your purpose is no longer waiting to be revealed. God is about to take what they meant for evil and turn it into undeniable glory. He is setting a table before you, not just so you can eat, but so that others will see that you were always His, that you were always covered, that the oil on your life could not be stolen, could not be polluted, could not be stopped. You are entering into the season of public reward. For every silent suffering, for every seed you planted that no one acknowledged, for every time you walked away from the crowd just to stay in alignment with the divine, God is repaying you, not just in things, but in clarity, in joy, in peace, in power. This is not a surface-level restoration. This is deep, soul-level recompense. You are about to see why it had to happen the way it did. And I know that may not be easy to accept at first, because part of you still carries the echo of what they did. The betrayal, the slander, the abandonment. But even that, God is healing. He's not just lifting you up, He's removing the residue. He's clearing out the emotional fog. The nights of confusion are ending. The cycle of self-doubt is breaking. You're not going to wonder anymore if you're worthy. You're going to know. God is removing the weight of false narratives. He's removing the shame they tried to put on you, the guilt that was never yours to carry, the lies that wrapped themselves around your identity. You are not the version of yourself they created in their gossip. You are the version God crafted in His vision. And that version is emerging stronger, bolder, more radiant than ever. Victory is not coming, it's here. The battle is already shifting. You don't have to fight for your name to be cleared. God is doing that. You don't have to beg for their approval. Your elevation will speak for itself. You don't have to argue with anyone about your worth. Your fruit will testify louder than their opinions ever could. But listen carefully now. Don't let bitterness take root. You're rising, yes, but rise in grace, rise in wisdom, rise in love, because elevation without character becomes a trap. And you, chosen one, have been called higher than pettiness. You've been called into healing, into peace, into prophetic maturity. Let them talk. Let them question. Let them remain in the cycles you've been delivered from. Your assignment is bigger than proving them wrong. Your assignment is to prove that God is still in the business of exalting the humble. And you are that humble servant. That's why the anointing on your life flows so deeply. That's why you can walk into a room and shift the atmosphere. That's why you don't need a platform to be powerful. Your presence alone speaks of heaven. That's what they couldn't stand about you. It wasn't your success. It was your light. It was your favor. It was the divine authority that followed you even when you didn't recognize it yourself. But now you do. You've grown, you've healed, you've evolved, and you're ready. Ready for the new assignments, ready for the elevation, ready to stand in your identity without apology. Because no one can take what God has placed on your life, and no one can block what heaven has already opened. The shift is happening. The heavens are declaring your name, and this is your confirmation. So rise, not just in stature, but in strength. Rise in revelation, rise in joy, rise in boldness. You've earned your scars, you've earned your wisdom, and now you will walk in what was promised. Not because of who you are in the eyes of man, but because of who you are in the eyes of God. You are chosen, you are covered, you are crowned, and your victory is already sealed in the Spirit. Now is the time to walk boldly into what you've been prepared for, to stop apologizing for your light, to stop playing small, to stop carrying the weight of what they did to you, and instead carry the authority of what God is doing through you. Because the time of waiting is over. The time of weeping has passed, and the time of elevation is here. You didn't miss your moment. Your moment was always waiting on your healing, on your alignment, on your surrender, and now that you've reached it, there is no going back. So walk forward, and don't just walk. Walk like the victory was written in your bloodline, because it was. You are the answered prayer. You are the chain breaker. You are the generational curse ender. You are the one they whispered about in fear, because even the darkness knew that once you awakened, everything would change. And everything is changing. Now that you are beginning to rise, it's time to understand why you were attacked so relentlessly. Because this wasn't just personal, it was spiritual. It wasn't just about who you were, it was about what you carry. You need to realize something. The enemy doesn't waste warfare on people who pose no threat. You weren't targeted because you were weak. You were targeted because you were chosen and dangerous to darkness. Your light was disruptive. Your presence alone confronted strongholds. Your silence made them nervous because it meant you were listening to something higher than their noise. Your intuition, your insight, your discernment, it pierced through lies. And that scared people who were committed to hiding in shadows. You were never the villain they painted you to be. But their spirit couldn't handle the mirror your truth held up. People don't attack what they don't feel threatened by. That's the paradox of being chosen. The very qualities that make you God's favorite often make you man's target. Your empathy was seen as weakness. Your kindness was mistaken for naivety, but it was never a lack of awareness. It was depth. And in a shallow world, depth becomes dangerous. You felt pain deeply because your soul is ancient. You processed betrayal with tears because your heart is wide open, connected to heaven's pulse. You didn't fight fire with fire because the flames in your spirit burned hotter than the ones thrown at you. The truth is, you were operating at a higher frequency all along, and most of them didn't even realize it. They just felt it, and it made them uncomfortable, and that discomfort turned into disrespect. But don't hate them for it. Pity them, yes. Understand them, absolutely. But hate? No. Because their rejection was necessary for your redirection. Their betrayal forced you inward, deeper into the arms of God. Their resistance made you press in for clarity, for power, for truth. And all of it, yes, even the pain, was part of a divine orchestration. See, when you're chosen, your life doesn't follow normal rules. The laws that govern others do not apply to you in the same way. That's why some doors had to close abruptly. That's why some people exited without warning. That's why opportunities slipped through your fingers right when you thought you were ready. Because there are divine paradoxes at play here. You were humbled right before you were exalted. You were emptied before being filled. You were isolated before being aligned. These aren't punishments, they're paradoxes. The chosen always walk a path that looks backward before it moves forward. And until you learn to see through that lens, you'll mislabel divine pruning as rejection. You'll mistake sacred preparation for punishment. But now you're seeing clearly. The veil is lifting. You're realizing that those breakdowns were breakthroughs in disguise, that those delays were divine shields, that the no you heard from man was actually a yes in heaven, just waiting for perfect timing. You were never being held back. You were being held in place until your character could carry the weight of your calling. And now, let's go deeper. Let's look at the psychology of those who hurt you, not to excuse them, but to understand the spiritual battlefield. Many of the people who attacked you were operating from insecurity. Your confidence exposed their self-doubt. Your purity exposed their hidden agendas. Your freedom highlighted their inner prisons. You reminded them of everything they weren't willing to face within themselves. In truth, they didn't hate you. They hated the mirror your life held up. When someone is trapped in spiritual poverty, they will lash out at anyone walking in abundance. You didn't just walk into rooms with presence, you walked in with purpose. And that purpose rubbed their wounds the wrong way. People who live in masks feel threatened by authenticity. People who live in bondage resent those who walk in freedom. And you, chosen one, carried too much truth for them to pretend around you. Some people rejected you not because you were wrong, but because your presence demanded growth. And growth is painful. They would have had to confront their own pride, their own lies, their own unhealed trauma to walk with you. And they weren't ready for that. So they chose the easier route, to attack what they didn't understand. But here's the beautiful thing. Their rejection only pushed you deeper into your mission. You were never sent here just to survive. You were sent here to awaken, to tear down spiritual systems that held others captive, to speak truth in a world addicted to lies, to heal where others harmed. You weren't just chosen to be blessed. You were chosen to become a blessing. That's why your soul felt heavy at times, because your calling is not ordinary. You've been tasked with birthing something eternal into a broken world. And just like every birthing process, it came with pressure, with pain, with pushing. But now the labor is ending, and what's being born through you is holy, powerful, and unstoppable. You carry wisdom beyond your years. That's why you often felt like an outsider, even in rooms filled with people. You sensed the unseen. You heard what wasn't being said. You felt the energy behind the words. And that sensitivity was your gift, though it often felt like a curse. But now, that gift is being activated on a new level. You're not just sensing anymore, you're discerning. You're not just hearing, you're understanding. You're not just enduring, you're rising. Your soul has aligned with your assignment. The confusion has cleared, the lies have crumbled, the veil has torn, and now you see, you know. And with that knowing comes responsibility. Because now that you've awakened, you can't go back. You can't shrink to fit spaces God has already called you out of. You can't entertain conversations that lower your frequency. You can't sit at tables built on false peace and quiet manipulation. You were chosen to be set apart, not comfortable. You are here to be light in a dark world, fire in a cold one, truth in a time of deception. And your very existence is a disruption to every system built on lies. That's why the warfare was so intense. That's why the attacks were so coordinated. It wasn't random, it was reactive. The darkness recognized your light long before you did. But now you recognize it too. And with that awareness comes clarity. Not everyone can go with you. Not everyone should go with you. As your elevation begins, God is calling you to travel light. Release the baggage. Release the bitterness. Release the old version of you that was still trying to prove your worth. That battle is over. Now is the time to walk in destiny, not defense. Because your soul didn't come here to argue with those who don't understand. Your soul came here to rise, to lead, to awaken others. And everything you've been through, every betrayal, every battle, every breakdown, it was all to prepare you for this moment. The moment where you step fully into who you were always meant to be. You are not broken, you are not behind, you are right on time, chosen one. You are the prophecy fulfilled, the living proof of divine reversal. And the glory that's about to pour out on your life, It won't just elevate you, it will liberate everyone connected to you. You've walked the valley. You've stood in the storm, you've danced in the fire, and sat in rooms where your name was twisted by tongues pretending to love you. But through it all, you never stopped being who God called you to be. Through it all, you remained the chosen one. That title wasn't given to you by people. It wasn't handed to you by status, by family, by approval or applause. It was whispered to your soul in the realm of the Spirit before time even began. God looked through eternity, reached into generations of bondage, dysfunction, pain, and said, "This one will break it. This one will shift the lineage. This one will carry the light." And you did, even when you didn't feel strong enough, even when you doubted your own voice, even when you were gaslit, lied on, ignored, or mishandled, you still stood. Not always with confidence, but always with courage. Because courage is not the absence of fear, it's obedience in the presence of it. And you have obeyed in silence long enough. Now heaven is answering in volume. This is not just elevation, this is coronation. What has been hidden is now being honored. What was broken is now being crowned. What felt like loss is being revealed as legacy. You didn't just survive what tried to kill you, you preserved your light in a world designed to dim it. And that is holy, that is rare, that is why your next chapter will not look like your last. The pain of your past cannot follow you into this next dimension. It has no authority here. The betrayals, the delays, the heartbreaks, they were tools in God's hand to shape you, but they are no longer your identity. You are no longer defined by what they did. You are now refined by what God is doing. And right now, He is writing a new chapter. This next season will not be fueled by survival, but by overflow, not by fear, but by faith, not by striving, but by stillness. You are no longer running from pain. You are walking into promise. With every step, divine alignment will meet you. With every breath, heaven will surround you. The same mouth that once trembled in prayer will now speak with prophetic authority. You are no longer the broken one. You are the breaker of chains. So believe this, the glory that's coming will not just elevate your life. It will elevate the lives of everyone you touch. People will be healed because of your presence. Strongholds will break because of your voice. Generations will shift because you dared to believe that your pain had a purpose. And it does. It always did. God didn't choose you because you were perfect. He chose you because you were willing to surrender, willing to rise again, willing to love even when your heart was shattered, willing to forgive those who never said sorry, willing to speak when others stayed silent, willing to stand when the crowd bowed to comfort. You were willing when it would have been easier to run. And now, heaven is responding. This is your spiritual call to action, chosen one. Do not shrink again. Do not go back into the shadows. Do not tone down your truth to make others comfortable. Do not apologize for your radiance. You were made for this elevation. You were shaped by fire to carry this mantle. You've come too far to dim now. There are doors about to open that only your voice can unlock. There are lives you haven't even met yet that are waiting for your obedience. This journey was never just about you. It was about them, the ones watching, the ones silently praying that someone like you would rise. Be that one. Be the confirmation someone else has been crying for. Be the proof that God still lifts the humble, that He still heals the broken, that He still uses the least expected to carry the greatest power. You don't need to explain what God is doing in your life. You don't need to justify your glow. You don't need to defend your joy. Let your peace speak. Let your fruit speak. Let your elevation speak. Those who once doubted you will become witnesses to the miracle. Those who once mocked you will watch the favor multiply. And you'll walk forward, not in spite, but in stillness, knowing that vengeance belongs to God, but the victory belongs to you. So breathe in this truth now. It's already done. The shifting, the lifting, the unfolding, it's happening as you align with who you've always been. Chosen, crowned, covered. And in case no one told you lately, you're not late. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're right where you need to be. You are the chosen one. And nothing can stop the divine elevation that's upon your life. Stand tall, speak boldly, walk gracefully, shine unapologetically. You are not here to fit in. You are here to rise above. This is your moment. This is your calling. This is your confirmation. And now, with all of heaven backing you, go walk in it. Go become it. Go live it. Because everything that hurt you was only setting the stage for the world to see you. And now they will.